What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Apex, the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the mid-season split. Next weekend, we're going to be having some more ALGS action on Saturday and Sunday. It's right around the corner. So as you're listening to this, you'll only have a few more days before we're back into the ALGS. We're going to kind of go through our entire first half discussion show where we talk about some of the teams that surprised us, some of the teams that we expect to make it in to land from the outside looking in, maybe a team that we expect to drop out, and then maybe our biggest surprise, and we will round it out with a mid-season prediction for our top 5. But before we get into all of that, let's check in with the boys here. Weeps, how are you doing, my man?
I'm good, man. I'm tired. I'm fucking hurting right now, but good, man. Good. Blessed to be doing this, man. Fun. It was good episode with Sauce. And I hope the people back home enjoy it.
There we go. Beautiful. E, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm right on board with the whole tired thing, but we keep on pushing it. And man, yeah, I'm happy to have things that I enjoy working on as much as I do. And so
perfect.
Yeah, nothing to complain about.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to tail you guys on the tired thing. I'm gonna tail you guys on that one. We're all tired. We are the tired squad, but we're going to power through it anyway, and we're going to do what we fucking do. Okay, let's get right into it then. So as we're looking at the entire statistics here for the first half of ALGS Split 1 for Pro League, we've got ourselves a lot of very regular things that we expected to happen. TSM in there? Yeah, you expected that. Dark Zero in there? Yeah, you expected that. But we also have some things that you would not expect at all. Xset at 18th, Optic at 16th. Probably did not expect that from either of those two teams. And so it kind of has been a very interesting season. We've had some great storylines. Some players come out of nowhere. Some teams come out of nowhere. We're going to talk a little bit later to Saucer from Team GKS. I don't think anybody had them in their top 5, let alone their top 12, expected to go to land here. So we'll talk to him and how his team has kind of found a way to make the most of their opportunity. But I kind of wanted to start off here with your biggest surprise through the first half of Split 1 of ALGS Pro League.
I don't know if you would call it the biggest surprise. I got a couple. If you look at the kills per game for Dark Zero, have you guys taken a look at that number? 6.39.
It's ridiculous.
All right. I would say the average, I haven't done the math, but just looking at it, the average is probably sitting around like 2.5 throughout NA Pro League. Maybe 3. Maybe 3. They have more than double the average of every single team for kills per game. So
they're also in first place with three match days.
Yeah.
LG is in second with a whole other match day in front of them, and Dark Zero is still ahead of them by 3 points.
It's definitely spooky, man. I was hanging out with Zero the other night, and let me tell you, he's hungry, man. He wants another one. But another surprise for me, and it's sort of like a surprise, it's sort of not. LG's new roster, Sweet, Funk, and Slayers. All right. In second place overall. Yeah, they've had another match day than some of these teams, but still second place overall as of now. I expected these guys to do well. You look at Funk, very young, very disgusting shooter, right? You look at Slayers, same thing. And Sweet, just one of the best IGLs in the world. Did not expect him to be in second place, right? Definitely maybe around like top 7 was sort of where I was expecting him because it's a new team. You got to get down the chemistry. You got to get down everything. But second place, man, repping the luminosity. You got to love it. Got to love it.
E, what were some of your biggest surprises so far?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I know we just talked about it, but like DZ, I did not expect them to be as good as they are. Like they're just operating at just like a different level than anybody else except for Moist. Both of the teams that were formerly from APAC South. Moist is in third place with only 3 matches played as well. They have 59 points, just 2 points behind LG, and we're like, so like I'm assuming they're going to get more than 2 points in their next game day, which should push them up into second at least. But dude, it's just, I guess the Aussies are just, they're doing it the best as of right now. Like they're running shit. Like Moist and DZ, I would definitely say I wasn't expecting them to be as strong and dominant. Like we talked about it, we were like, oh, Moist is going to be a really good team. They got Guild coming in, but I didn't think anybody really thought that they were going to be clicking and meshing and rolling as well as they are so early on into them being a team, the three of them. And then I would say I'm a little surprised by DSG being in 11th. They do only have 3 match days played, and so if they have a strong match day, like they could push into that top 5 with very little to no problem. But I think that this is a team that they're going to turn it on a little bit more as the season goes on, and I'm stoked to see how the Pro League is going to play out and how the teams are going to be adapting to the new system that we have in place. And so that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to most as we're heading into this second half of ALGS, is seeing how big of an impact the changes make and see which teams are able to adapt quicker and faster and more effectively than the others.
Yeah, going off of your guys' Dark Zero stats a little bit here too, 56% of their point totals are coming from kills. And the fact that they've been able to slay out like they have is insane. Playing off of that a little bit, they're the only team that have all 3 members in the top 10 with kills. I mean, they are absolutely slaying. The one thing I did find a little interesting with Dark Zero, they have been in the top 5, tied for the most times, 11. They've only won 1 match, which is crazy when you think about their dominance so far and the fact that they are in first place with only 3 match days played by 3 points. But it's like they're getting so many kills that it combats anything that has to do with winning the match. Only getting 1 win and them still being first with 1 less match day is ridiculous. It makes absolutely no sense. And I wanted to go off of the Luminosity pick too from Weeps. Funk, he's leading the entire league in kills. Like he is slaying out, and you can hear it in their comms. He is confident on another level. His confidence exudes when you're listening to those calls because he is talking with Sweet. Like when you put yourself on the same level as one of the best IGLs to ever pick up this game, and he is talking with him, they are conversing together, coming up with plans. And sometimes it pisses Sweet off a little bit because you can hear it too when things don't go right. But that's a lot of confidence, and you want that going into this. And that's what Sweet was looking for, I think. I like we talked about with NRG, it seemed like they had kind of hit that lull. They had been a team for too long. Things weren't really going well. They brought in Guild to kind of spice things up, but it didn't go the way they had hoped. They bring in Funk. They bring in Slayer. They're getting the kills from Funk. Slayer's looking to bounce back a little bit. I think right now he's currently sitting at 51st in kills, so they could use a little bit more from him in the kills department. But he is doing pretty well for himself as well. I also wanted to point out one of my big surprises is E8. Team E8 right now, they're currently sitting at 9th. They are the only team in the top 12 that have a complete 50-50 point differential between placement and kills. I think that's like a very balanced way to play. You look at some of the way these teams are playing, it's heavily in favor of kills or heavily in favor of placement. And where that can get dangerous is if the kills aren't coming your way, you're going to be losing a lot of points. Same thing with placement. With the way that Zach has been IGLing, it's his best performance he's ever had. I think he would tell you that right now. He is in his best era, his best Zach era of making the right calls for his team. And obviously they're not in the spot they'd like to be. I think every team here would like to be first, but they're happy. They've got to be happy. They're one of the better teams right now in the league, and I think that is like a big thumbs up for them moving forward. I'd also like to point out the fact that in NA, it seems like the teams that we knew were going to be good for the most part are not just good, they are really, really good. Because out of the top 12 here, I believe 7 of these teams have only played 3 match days. You've got Dark Zero, you've got Moist, you have SSG, E8, Complexity, DSG, also Furia's in there. A lot of these teams still have like a full day to work with on top of the fact that they're already qualifying for LAN if it were to end right now. So the teams that are good, they aren't just good, they are really good, and they're performing extremely, extremely well. Which kind of leads into our next point here, because we're going to have a team, a really good team, that doesn't make LAN. And I kind of wanted to look at you guys and ask, if there's one team you're looking at on this board that you're saying, I don't know if they're going to be able to compete, especially with maybe they've played the 4 days. Which team do you think that is in right now that you could see dropping out as we get closer to that final day?
I mean, that's a tough one. I think it's anybody's game, and at the end of the day, it's always a toss-up, really, unless you're like the top 3 teams consistently playing, consistently doing well. We're playing an RNG game, right? So it's super tough. I think out of all the teams, if I had to say, might not make it. All right. I would maybe. Now this is a hot take. All right. If Design doesn't keep his cool, all right, it might railroad Disguised a little bit.
That's a fair.
That's fair. I think that
very fair.
I think that's one thing. Fair. I mean, we've seen some of the things that have happened. He's a phenomenal player, but like Saucer was saying for so many of his answers, team chemistry and the ability to just say, hey, we fucked up, chalk it up, keep the vibes high. It's so important, man, especially when you're dealing with, excuse me, I got the hiccups. Especially when you're dealing with such a young player like Enemy, a lot of these younger guys, they might get in their heads a little bit once, certain people talk enough shit to them. I was with somebody on Sunday who is currently on a different roster on Pro League. We were hanging out at Zach and Clara's, and he used to team with somebody who is considered a phenomenal IGL and used to be yelled at all the time. And he told me, dude, like after a while, bro, he just wasn't as invested into the team, into not necessarily wanting to do well, but like go above and beyond, just because he sort of had enough is enough. So that might be the one thing. Other than that, I'm saying it's anybody's game, man. It's anybody's game. Even for the people, supposedly people are saying the cutoff is going to be around 80-something points, right, at the final of this. I think anybody sitting above 40 points has an opportunity to make it, right? I think FaZe at 38, slim chance possibility. I mean, they got a 13th place average placement, 2.11 kills per game, which is, it's tough to be able to put out consistent numbers like that. But FaZe, Meat Lovers, Skirts, Evolution, Eternal, Oversleepers, Cream, and Temper, the more days that go on, if they keep playing like this, man, they're not going to make it, and it sucks. Your heart just goes out to them because at the end of the day, all these guys want to do is go play a LAN, chance to raise the trophy, win some money, and win some honor. So we'll see. What do you think, Guy?
And we're talking about teams that are in right now that are looking like they could drop out.
Yeah.
I would say things are not looking good for Dig. Dig is currently in 11. They're tied for 11th place with DSG, and they have dropped Stunny. And I believe that their team is going to be Crook, Jaeyoon, or however you say like Karma's new name, and then I believe Orioles. And so that is a very interesting situation because it went from them dropping Jaeyoon, or formerly known as Karma, and then a few days later after that decision, they ended up dropping Stunny and bringing back Karma, and then they're also bringing in Orioles, who is formerly on Sentinels, and so I'm not sure who Sentinels third is going to be, but Orioles got dropped from Sentinels, Carm had gotten dropped, and so they teamed up, and then Crook was decided, like, okay, I'm going to go with these guys. So it'll be interesting to see how they perform. But with them being in the spot that they're in, with them barely being in there at 11th, with having played 4 matches so far, things aren't looking the greatest for them. And then Xset, unless they have an absolute just turnaround season, which it looks like they've played 3 days. All right, so I would say Xset isn't in as bad of a spot as it might appear. They're currently in 18th. They only have 3 matches played. They had an absolute dud of a first showing with a 3-point performance, but they've responded with a 14th and a 13th. And so I think after they get their 4th match day in, they'll jump up quite substantially, and it'll be interesting to see where they compare it to some of these other 4 match day teams. But they're definitely backs against the wall right now, and they know that if they don't have a strong second half, their land chances are chalked. Which it just doesn't seem like. I think this is something that nobody saw coming, was Xset to be performing as bad as they were, because they're like, okay, they got so Sykes is no longer with the team, but then they end up picking up Koifel. Everybody's stocks are up huge on Koi, and everybody's thinking he's like, okay, he's just going to fit right in and everything's going to be good. And they performed incredibly well in scrims, but those do not seem to be translating into their match days, or at least the first one that they played. And so hopefully they can lock it in, because that's definitely a team that I would say has a strong chance to win a LAN if they're able to show up in their best form. And so if they were to not make it, that would be pretty unfortunate to see.
So I just want to give some insider info here, which is not really insider info, for the people that aren't on the Battlefy website. So you said Orioles was dropped from Sentinels and picked up to DIG, dropping gaming.
I believe so.
So
that's
I'm looking
at least to the best of my knowledge.
Yep. So I'm looking at the roster for Sentinels right now, and on the roster that they have on the Battlefy, by the way, fellas, is Zenile, RKN, Hill, and Luda. So we might be seeing a Hill comeback into comp, because I don't know if you guys saw it on Twitter the other day. Somebody was saying that it was a semi-viral tweet talking about every team that picked up Hill, like he was a great addition to the team, you know. So, and I'm pretty sure Luda was the sub for this team already. So I think Hill's making his comeback to Apex Comp, which is going to be pretty exciting. Something to look for.
Hill, friend of the program, been on the show once again. Back in the. I think he was part of Oxygen before Oxygen became the new Oxygen.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
I'm almost positive. Yeah, friend of the program, Hill. So shout out Hill. If I had to look at a team, speaking of Oxygen, that I think could have a little bit of a stutter and could potentially not make it in, I'm looking at Oxygen right now, because they did have a very good day where they won, right? And that's crazy to, like, you have a day where you win, you're like, okay, team's good enough to perform. That was before the contest with 9 Lives, and it seems like that contest, I'm not even saying 9 Lives is winning this contest. It's just that it puts them in a little bit more of an uncomfortable position, and immediately following the contest, they went from 25 points and winning the day to just 7. And they're already sitting at 7th place. They've got 4 match days. A lot of these teams behind them only have 3. That's one that if I saw it, and at the end of this, you see them and they're sitting at like 14th, 15th, I wouldn't be completely surprised. So that's one of those teams that I'm kind of keeping a close eye on, seeing if they can bounce back. If they can fully take control over Barometer on Storm Point and make 9 Lives go away, that changes everything, right? Because now they're back in that same spot where they're in the position to once again reclaim the team that we know and the team that we saw at Champs. So that's kind of something that I'm looking at here. Just keeping a close eye on Oxygen. I wouldn't be 100% surprised if they were to drop out. Now, if there's a team that you see maybe on the outside looking in, or maybe is on the fringe, that you're like, no, 100% they are locking in, they're going to make it at the end of this thing, they will be there. What's that team for you guys?
I'm gonna As of right now, Xset is in, right?
No, Xset is out.
Xset is out.
I'm going
right now.
Xset, dude.
They're 18th.
I'm going Xset. You got Koi, who is arguably the most mechanically gifted controller player at the moment right now. You got Nocturnal, who's a phenomenal IGL, and you got Fun, who arguably is the best MK player. You know, I gotta go Xset, bro. There's no other answer for me.
See, I got another answer for you, and it's Optic Gaming with the return of Caustic into meta. Hello, we got Optic with Caustic back in meta. We got dropped on the Bangalore. You throw that man knocked on a Bloodhound, and you are good to go. I would say that this new meta that we've seen shift into with the addition of all of these new changes is heavily favoring their playstyle, and it'll be fun to watch and see how they capitalize with one of their main legends now being back into the meta. It'll be fun to see.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go with the team that's already in there, that I think is going to lock in completely, entirely, and I wouldn't be surprised if they make it into the top 3. I'm gonna go with SSG, Phony's team, Space Station Gaming. I think they are just like they had one bad day so far, and ever since then it's been nothing but good. You always see them in the end game. Phony has been proven now, I think, to be at least. I don't think it's crazy to say he's a top 5 IGL. Like ever since he busted onto the scene, it's like, okay, this guy knows what he's doing, and he can take any form, any team. He's had so many teammates at this point now, and he's continued to just have success after success after success. So I'm going to say SSG, and like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if they won the whole damn thing. Now, that's kind of crazy to say because DZ is on a tear right now that I don't know if we've ever seen like this big of dominance so far, but I'm going to go with SSG for mine, and I think they're going to lock it in, and they're going to make it in there. I'd also like to point out, too, going back to Weeps' point about some of these teams that are way far behind, a lot of these teams are preseason teams that, I think are still kind of feeling their way out and trying to find a way to continue this success. Like, for them, success might have just been making it to this pro league, and if they can have sustained success as a team together and find a way to battle through all this adversity, similar to how Oxygen did before they became the new Oxygen, I think that would be really positive. We know that there's a lot of like really young players out there. You take a team like Oversleepers, right? Vaudry came on the show, very, very young, and his Oversleeper squad made it in, into from the preseason qualifiers off of points. It's like, okay, yeah, right now they're 28th out of 30, or 29th out of 30. They're tied for 29th. So it's like, that's not great. You're literally a few points away from being last. But you also have a kid who's 16, still feeling his way out, learning the process. You could look at that in split 2 and be like, all right, he learned a lot from his first stint. Could they make a push from like the lower 20s to the upper teens? You never know. So I think for a lot of these teams, it could just be getting that feeling out process out of the way. And then all of a sudden in split 2, you're like, holy shit, they've busted on the scene. Now they are proving and performing to people that like they were legit. They just needed some more time. So I think that's also something to look at here. Okay. So we've got all of our teams that are already looking pretty solid. And you guys have already kind of alluded to the teams that are on the outside looking in with Optic and Xset. You guys kind of already have your answers, but I'd just like to ask again. You look at some of these teams outside. We've got Legacy on the outside looking in, formerly Luminosity. We've got Optic. We've got Xset. We've got Nine Lives, FaZe, Sentinel, Meat Lovers. All of those teams are on the outside looking in. If I had to pick one like you guys have, where you're saying, okay, all like they're not really they haven't really, shown what they could do. I'd also like to point out Legacy. Like Legacy, they had a lot of connectivity issues that kind of hindered those first few days with players like having to play game with the duo. It's like that's such a tough ask, right? I would not also be surprised if Legacy is not one of those teams that is like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like they were there. That 100% would not surprise me at all. Okay. Before we round out this discussion here, boys, I do want to give a mid-season top 5 prediction. We already had our predictions before the season started, but we're already halfway through this bad boy, and a lot of teams have surprised us here. Top 5 prediction from each of you guys. How does this NA Split 1 Pro League round out? Hit me with it.
All right. I mean, I got to go with some of the teams that are on the top. I'm going to go Dark Zero, LG, Moist, and TSM. TSM because they're TSM. Moist, they're brand new in NA and they're feeling themselves. You know, they got Guild, they got Waltzy. They're a really complete team. LG just signed a brand new contract with Luminosity here, repping. And so they're feeling good, you know, behind, like you said, Funk, number 1 in kills. Sweet, arguably the best IGL in the game. And then Dark Zero. I mean, they're on a rampage. And then I'm going to say Oxygen in my top 5.
There we go. E, is yours pretty much the same as what it is right now, or do you have some teams kind of sneaking in and taking over some spots in this top 5?
Yeah, I got some people falling out. I think TSM's going to fall out of top 5. I definitely think we're going to see him head to LAN, but with them being one of the few 4 match days played already teams in the top 5 / top 10, I definitely think that there's going to be room for them to fall out. So I believe that I'm going to go DZ hard lock on number 1. I don't think it's close. I'm going to put Moist 2, LG. I'm going to go DZ, Moist, SSG, LG, and then I'm going to go ahead and throw E8 in there at 5th.
That's solid.
There we go. I'm so glad you said E8 because I'm gonna have them in the top 5 as well. Yeah, like I said, I don't think you can really overtake DZ right now. I think they stay at 1. I do think Luminosity, because they have that 4th day already, loses them a little bit of ground, but not too much. I'm gonna have Moist in that 2nd spot, followed by LG. They're gonna flip flop, and then I'm gonna have SSG at 4, and I'm gonna have E8 at 5th. That kind of consistency with E8, where you're getting half your points from kills, half your points from placement. I just don't like when you have that level of consistency. I'm like that to me automatically at the end of this thing puts you in that top 5, and we're going to have E8 back at LAN, and it's going to be a grand old time. So, ladies and gents, that's our mid-season review. Let's talk to one of our teams that's already in the top 5. We're going to throw it on down to our man Saucer. First time on the pod, we finally had the full GKS roster on the show with Chaotic and Naughty both being on in the past. So we're going to hit a quick ad and have a great chat with Saucer. Very insightful, and hopefully we have him back on because he was a pleasure to talk to. Ladies and gents, let's hit a quick ad and send it on down to Sauceror. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We are here with GKS Sauceror, first time on the pod. And right now, GKS sitting top 5 in NA Pro League Split number 1. Sauce, my man, how are you doing?
Doing really well. Thank you.
And this has got to be like a crazy season so far because you guys were a Challenger Circuit team, or sorry, not Challenger Circuit, preseason qualifier team, came in, and you guys had some controversy to start, but so far so good. I mean, we're already halfway through the season, and you guys are sitting top 5. What has kind of like led to your guys' success? Like, how have you guys kind of gotten to this point?
Well, first of all, I think all 3 of us have been very good players, but the biggest part of our success has just been a lot of grind, a lot of hours put into being better from all 3 of us. I don't think this team would have succeeded without all the work that all 3 of us have put in. We really, really want this.
Gotta want it. Passion. You know? Can't
Yes,
teach
sir.
it. Can't teach it.
it.
So I got a question, Sauce. So top 5. I mean, you guys have been absolutely swinging cock, right? Like you're playing against the best teams in the world, the best players in the world. You guys are unsigned, right? Top 5 team. If there's an org out there, right, that currently doesn't have an Apex team, who would you want?
If I had to pick any org out there,
Any org. Give me, and if you're feeling saucy, no pun intended. Give me a top 3.
top 3, I'd have to think it through.
Or if you got one on top of your head, one is fine.
Honestly, I can't really think of one in particular.
Oh, you got it, dude. You got to manifest it, bro. Got to manifest it.
I'd say like C9 or TL.
Yep, bring them back
Bring
to
'em
Apex.
back.
Then,
Bring him back to Apex.
yeah, bringing
That'd be
those
big.
teams back to Apex, and also those are 2 teams that I've grown up watching compete in CS since like middle school. So definitely look up to those guys a lot. And
Oh yeah, man.
yeah, it would just be so like it would be such an honor to be a part of such a like legendary organization. Been in the esports scene since almost the very beginning and have like those memorable moments that every esports lover knows.
Oh, absolutely,
Sure.
man. Absolutely. So, we're talking about orgs, and now for all the viewers on YouTube, Spotify, everywhere we're at, can you give us a little bit of some background info on you? You know, if you want to go.
Yeah. I started competing in my first pro tournament was in December 2019, that GLL Winter Cup that I had to qualify through a kill race with Peach and BCJ, if any old time watchers know them.
CJ, yeah.
Love my boy BCJ. But yeah, I've just been competing. Unfortunately, I haven't been signed for much of that time, like over 4 years now. I've been only signed for 1 year on Renegades from April 2021 to April 2022, roughly. So I haven't been in the spotlight too much, but I definitely believe that I have the talent and now definitely a lot more discipline than I used to. You know, being a 16-year-old kid, I was kind of lazy back then. Definitely regret it, but you live and you learn. I'm just happy that I'm on the right track now to success. And I hope to show my talent at LAN.
Love that, man. Well, I mean, you guys are headed that way, man. Fifth overall. You know, that's big. E, you got any questions from a man here?
Yeah, so you just mentioned that you'd become a lot more disciplined over the last few years. What have been some of the biggest changes that you've been implementing that you've found to have a positive impact on not only your gameplay, but your life as a whole?
Mentality is a huge thing. Not beating yourself up too hard, not like when you start getting those thoughts of doubt or, you know, just being sad in general, you have to disconnect your emotions from that. You have to look at logically. You know, like when you play bad, you have to admit, yes, I played bad, but what are the steps that I can take to prevent this mistake from happening, or what is causing this issue that I have power over to control? That's a very big thing. And discipline is just separating my, I guess you could call it work life over social life. I used to be very lazy, always wanted to hang out with my IRL friends in Discord, play like random games, but sometimes you just gotta sacrifice some of that.
That's
You ever
something
heard-
we hear from like a lot of different pros and streamers is the reason they got to this place was putting all of the other stuff on the back burner. And sometimes it's hard, like you said, like sometimes you don't want to do it, but we can already see how much it's translated to your success here. And it's not like you haven't been successful in the past. I did want to revisit Renegades, that brief stint that you were signed. You mentioned Renegades, and you guys actually placed really well in the, I think it was ALGS Champs. I think you guys got 4th. I kind of wanted to go back and talk about that run a little bit and briefly go into all the things that went into that with that Renegades team.
That Renegades team, it started out as kind of just three players coming together that couldn't find a team before. Pow Pow just came off of a stint with CLG with Madness and Vax, I believe. And Bowser was playing with, I believe it was Six and Wig at the time. I can't exactly remember, but it was just three of us who were teamless, and we thought, hey, we fit our roles. Bowser's a Gibby player, Pow Pow's more of a support, and then I'm the Wraith / Octane player. I think it was Wraith at first. Octane didn't come into meta until after we formed, but just three players who needed each other to fill each other's roles. And slowly over time, we needed an IGL, and that's when I first really stood up to the IGL role. Before that, on different teams, I did comm macro, but it wasn't like as much responsibility as a traditional IGL would today, you would think. So we gradually transitioned me into IGL, come Octane meta, and up into champs. We actually tried Valk in the qualifiers for champs for the finals lobby. It was very sketchy, and at the time I was not very comfortable with calling on Valk. You know, she's kind of new. How you approach a game from a macro standpoint is very, very different compared to Wraith and Octane, which is what I'm good at. So when we did win the tiebreaker to qualify as a 20th seed into the finals lobby, miracle, by the way, we decided to go back to Octane Bloodhound Gibby, I believe it was, and we really showed up because of that. Just playing to our strengths. Sometimes what you got to do.
And then you guys place well there, everything goes well, and then after that, you like you said, there's kind of been like a lull, and then all of a sudden you end up on GKS, and you guys coming up through preseason, you guys win, and then there's like a little bit of a controversy where it's like, okay, we got to figure out what we're going to do with Panda here, but we also have plans to, you know, make a big jump. And I think at first, initially, a lot of people were very upset with it. But now if you look at the standings of where you guys are sitting, it looks like you guys knew the team direction the entire time. You knew what would be the right play for you guys. Kind of go into like that decision and then kind of going through the preseason qualifiers and all of that, trying to secure your guys' spot in Pro League for Split 1.
I'll be honest, I did not expect to just swing out the bat and come winning that week. I think we signed up a couple hours before the deadline, I think. I woke up early, set an alarm to make sure that Chaotic, because he was asleep at the time when I was talking Panda, to make sure he joined the Battlefied team so I could sign up. And we had, I think, we actually didn't even get to practice scrims because we didn't get in. I think we practiced 1 or 2 days just playing a little bit of ranked, and then come the day of Saturday when the tourney starts, we just warmed up a little, all three of us individually, and then just went into it and just winged it, literally. And then on whatever day finals was, it was either Sunday or Monday, I can't remember. My experience as an IGL, like all these years of playing comp, really showed, and it just put us in great opportunities, great spots to get a banger of a game.
Can't make it up, man. Can't make it up. And so you mentioned a lot of different times in Apex, a lot of different metas, right? What is your favorite meta from Apex history? And what do you think of Season 20?
I think the Wraith, Watson, Gibby / Pathfinder, because the lobby was split between like kind of half Gibby, half Pathfinder teams. I think that holds a lot of fond memories for me.
Yeah.
So I'd say it's definitely up there, but I really, really liked last season's meta in comp. The Bang, Catalyst, Horizon / Conduit, depending on what teams run. That was like the most dominant two comps. I think that was the most skill expressive meta we've ever had. There is no wall hack crutching. There's no UAV characters to crutch macro. And
Excuse me.
I've said this during Wraith meta. I like when characters that are in meta, like their abilities help. I don't know what's the word. They don't play the game for you. You have to use them and utilize them in the correct way to propel yourself forward in the game. And Cat and Bang are just two characters that are great at that. Conduit's fun, honestly, to fight. I hated her at first, but after playing against her and with her for a while, I thought it was pretty fun. And then Horizon, of course, is just gives you so much freedom to move around vertically. Sometimes is game winning. And for the current meta, might be a hot take. I kind of don't like it. I always think when Caustic is in meta that it's really, really frustrating. And I don't like when UAV characters are in meta because it kind of takes away from that skill gap as an IGL that you have to predict where teams are going to path based on watching their VODs or just like knowing how that POI paths into certain zones. I think that's like a very important skill as an IGL players should develop, and I like expressing that skill in game. And I think having Bloodhound meta where you can just scan a UAV and get all that info at once and 100% accurate info at that is kind of takes away from that.
Respect it. I respect it. E, what do you got?
Yeah, so what do you think it would take for Bloodhound to move out of meta with the way that we currently see it shaping up to be a Bang Blood Caustic, at least from what I've seen? What do you think would need to happen?
I think Digis need to come back. As controversial as that is what's going to push Bloodhound out of meta because Bloodhound is picked right now because of one of the perks that reduces his scan by 5 seconds. That's very important. But also, Bloodhound is now the only character that could kind of fight in these super like visual cluttered up meta with Caustic and Bang both being played. He could see perfectly through all that gas and smoke and just frag out for your team. When you're playing against a Bloodhound and you don't have one, it's very hard to even fight back when he's an ult.
It's tough. I mean, they know everything, you know?
Yep.
Even with the, say, nerfs to them over the, what, a year? When was Bloodhound really meta? Like a while back?
I think the last time he was meta was it might have been like champs.
Yeah, it's been a little
2021
bit.
champs.
Yeah.
It's been a
I
little
think
bit.
it was definitely when it was paired with Octane and Gibby, I think. Because after that, it became Seer meta. And there's no
Yeah.
reason to not play Seer over Bloodhound after
No.
all that.
That was something, man. So Sauce, I got a question here. So I'm looking at the standings for Battlefy here, right? You guys are tied in 5th place with Furia right here. Dark Zero in 1st, LG in 2nd, Moist in 3rd, TSM in 4th, and then it's you guys in Furia. What teams are standing out to you that you thought you expected more of, and what teams have done better than you thought they were going to do?
I'm pulling up the standings myself here. Give me a sec. Teams I definitely expected to do better are, I mean, they're just staring at me right here. Optic and Xset.
The big
Optic.
ones.
Yep, Optic after just coming off of a 2nd place at champs. You expect them to dominate, and Xset picking up Koiful, who is literally crowned the generational talent of controller players right now. Of course, that's not the only thing that goes into a team, but even in their scrim results leading up to Pro League, they're doing very well. So I'm surprised to not see them swing out as hard as they did. Same with Optic here. They have a ton of experience, 3 very talented players. I think Dropped is very, very smart when it comes to IGLing too. Not to mention they have a lot of POI experience over a lot of these new teams. So that definitely comes in handy.
That kind of brings up a question for me and this is purely, I don't know exactly how this works, and you may have a different experience than other players, but do you think in Optic's case, they've been together for a while, Do you think it ever reaches a point where you've kind of just reached your ceiling as a team and you've been together maybe a little bit too long? You maybe understand each other's tendencies a little too well, and it changes your game a little bit to the point where maybe you just have to find something new? Like, have you ever had an experience like that playing comp all these years?
Mm, I have had a couple, not much, but I think that issue can be easily solved through a better mindset when it comes to approaching these type of things. Uh, like experienced teams like Optic, when they don't do so well, I feel like they tend to look at like, okay, it's the end of this roster. We've been together for a long time. Let's move on. Instead of okay, these are the glaring issues that are staring at us. Come on, boys, we're a better team than this. We need to fix this. I mean, just look at Hal and Reps, for example. They've been together since the very beginning of Comp Apex, and they've literally worked out every single time that they've had issues with each other perfectly fine, and they're one of the most dominant teams in Apex history.
5 years
Uh,
later.
I think the Scars team that won EU champs back in 2021, they stayed together through thick and thin and won champs. Teams like that are teams that I look up to and respect a lot because the adversity that you face and beat really shows so much of you as a player and person. It's very respectful.
Is there a player that kind of emulates what you just said right there? Like somebody who's just battled adversity their entire time and you kind of just look up to them as somebody else who's in the scene that you're just like, damn, I really respect the way they've handled their career so far.
Ooh, Phony is definitely one of them. I have another one in mind, but I can't remember it off the top of my head right now. But Phony has definitely been struggling the first, I mean, he's been in comp as long as I have, and he hasn't really had much success until I think last year on that ESA roster. So despite everything that he's faced, not really finding his groove with teams, and then finally finding that one that propels him forward in his career that's motivating.
Yeah, he was we had him on right after he won. Like literally he had just won to get himself into the spot. And we had him on and interviewed him, and it wasn't just the fact that he had been grinding so long in comp, it was also all the other life stuff that he was dealing with like at the time. Like he had so much going on and he still managed to do it. So yeah, I 100% agree with that one right there. I kind of wanted to go back to what Weeps brought up earlier with season 20 and like how you like it. The legends are one thing. I did want to go through some of the other things that have changed in season 20 and your thoughts on it. Obviously, the perks, the armor, you have the shield things that are all over the place, the little barrels that are on the ground, all that stuff, the crafters. As far as that goes, taking the legends out of it, how do you like all of these other systems, and do you think it's going to be a good thing for competitive, or do you think maybe it was better the way it was before?
Uh, I think it's still early to say, but based off of scrims so far, because we haven't had any real tournaments in this new meta. I think we only had the Asia Festival one, but that kind of counts, kind of doesn't, because it's only one region. But I think most of the changes in relation to the armor and crafter and all that stuff is good for the health of the game overall. It's something new. It keeps the game fresh, and you need that for as long as a game like Apex has been around. The only thing I'd change really is some of the perks I think are like way too strong compared to others. Like if you look at Horizon's perks, it's very obvious to me that they just gave her bad perks in general to kind of force her play pick rate down, and gave like less play characters like Bloodhound like very strong, like noticeable perks. Same with Gibby actually. Um, but I think the armor system is really nice. The only thing I'd change is that I think it's a little too hard for zone teams to get from blue to perp. And sometimes it kind of feels like you're just getting diffed in armor when it comes to the end game. But other than that, I think it's pretty good.
Can you see more teams becoming edge teams because of all these changes that they've introduced? Because I mean, if you're playing edge, right, and I mean I don't play comp, but I play rank all the time. dude, if you're coming in from the zone, you're crafting, you're hitting beacons, you're getting all the Evo level ups, everything. You're hitting all the bins, and you're walking in on purples, and you see people with blues, right? That's got to be so much harsher in comp while you're going up against the best of the best in the world, right? Do you see more teams maybe going to an edge sort of playstyle?
Yeah, definitely. That was actually one of the first things I noticed in scrims in season 20 was that edge seemed a lot more congested. You're just constantly running into teams going for the same evo caches at you. There's more teams playing slow and playing for those UAVs and third rank scans too. So definitely noticeable already. But I think half of that is because teams actually want to play edge, and half of that is just teams experimenting with the new season. And also, it's hard to say if they will continue doing that in come tourney day because teams will definitely play different on tourney day.
Yeah, yeah. It's been a thing for years now. Scrims they're doing one thing, and when it comes to tournaments, a whole different set of plans. Um, I just had a question, and I forgot, and it was a juicer.
Did you lose it? You want me to? You want me to hit one?
Yeah, I can fill
Fellas,
in
pick it up.
until
Go
you-
ahead.
yeah.
You want to hit one?
Yeah, so Sauceror, when you started out in your comp career, you were not IGLing, and then you basically ended up having to pick it up. And so what have been the biggest things that have enabled you to increase that area of your gameplay that has allowed you to get to a point where you're playing with two players who most assuredly are not IGLs in the slightest and taking on the majority of that responsibility? No shade towards Naughty or Chaotic, but I would just just not IGLs.
Definitely a lot of VOD review. Since teaming with Naughty and Chaotic, I've been putting in a lot more work outside the game as well. I've been doing a ton of VOD review on our own game, seeing what I could call better. And I've been VOD reviewing a ton of Zero Suite, a little bit of HAL, but I've been watching Zero and Suite because I think the biggest two things I can improve on IGLing is microing more, which is what Sweet is good at, and Zero is just like a brilliant mind. The way that this guy thinks about the game, it's like he's calculating so many things at once, and not only that, he's able to communicate that effectively to his team and achieve what he wants. So that's something I really look up to and hope that I could also do in the future.
So if you had to pick your number one IGL in the game, controversial topic, you're going Zero?
I might have to.
Yeah, there we
I'm
go.
a HAL stan, but I think Zero's IGLing right now is better than HAL's.
Would you? So you would like? We always kind of ask any IGL we bring on this exact question: is who do you kind of like? What exactly is your style? Like, what is something? We've talked about what you want to get better at. What are the things you're already good at? What are the things that if somebody was like, okay, like, why would you want Saucer as an IGL? You would say this is why.
One thing Naughty really gasses me up for is that he thinks that I have very, very good gut instincts. I think that's come as a result of my many years in Comp Apex more so than a lot of these newer players. I always see scenarios in Comp, and then I'm instantly like, boom, this is the right play. We need to do this right now. So I think that's something I'm really good at. And then mapping out rotates is something I've been always good at since my Renegades days. I'd say those two are my top two skills.
Okay. And then, so this isn't the question that I had that I absolutely forgot. I think that thing's gone. All right. But transitioning from you to now your teammates, what makes Naughty and what makes Chaotic such great teammates that you guys are gelling so well? Again, 5th overall in NA Pro League right here.
Zero toxicity between us. I'll have to start. I love the team environment that we've built. Naughty is just always so positive. I don't know how that guy is just Sounds like that guy always has something nice to
Dog.
say, no matter what, even if things are going bad. And then chaotic is just he doesn't like get toxic at all. When he gets frustrated at something we need to do, he communicates it effectively without coming across as mean. Uh, we all definitely keep our emotions in check when it comes to like if we make mistakes and like other players like let's say Zero or Hal would be yelling at each other probably, you know, definitely doesn't feel good to be on the receiving end of being yelled at. And it's also just good to be respectful when talking to your teammates about mistakes they make because they just absorb that better, you know?
Yep.
Of course, it differs player to player, but when you're getting yelled at versus when a person is actually sitting you down and saying, okay, you've been making this mistake and this is how you need to fix it versus you're a fucking idiot. Stop doing this, you know? They absorb it a lot well. They take it a lot more positively, and then they can actually apply that. Versus if I'm just getting yelled at, I'm just like, bro, fuck you. I was just trying my best, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it also makes you want to like go back at them. Some like it truly is like communication is so key because you see it like you'll see if Hal like blows up on somebody, they'll just go right back at him and point out things that he did, mistakes that he made, and it kind of just goes into this like cycle of just bullshit where you're just yelling. Whereas if you just have proper communication, I mean, it works for Hal, so I'm not going to sit here and knock him because I mean he's got championships, but I do think like leaning more into the communication, like better forms of it, I think that works a lot better in the long run. And I think being an IGL it's a tough gig because there's going to be stretches of time where you're just consistently wrong in something. Like it just happens that way. Even the best have just terrible days. We saw a TSM get like 11th, I think, on the last match day, and they just were not doing very well. It happens to everybody. And so I always like to ask IGLs when you're going through a tough stretch, when it just seems like none of your decisions are going the right way, the games aren't going right, and maybe the vibes aren't as good as they can be. Is there anything that you do maybe outside of the game to kind of keep yourself level and not get either too negative or too harsh on the other guys? Like, is there any sort of thing that you do to kind of keep yourself sane through the bad times?
This actually happened in our most recent match day. Our first three games were abysmal, and we had a zone gifted to us that I called wrong, and I beat myself up really bad over that. We definitely would have won the tourney and not got second if I just called that one zone right. But in the moment, you have to understand why you've made certain mistakes and make sure you apply that for the next game if it's a reoccurring issue. So in that match day, I realized that, okay, my zone calling is really bad, but the biggest issue was my confidence. I knew that that zone might shift towards there, but I strayed away from it because I was too scared knowing that DSG was going to make a play for that same side of the zone, and I didn't want to put us in a spot where we're just getting shoved by a team with better loot. But thinking back on it, I should just make that call because regardless if we end up getting shoved, that's a fight that is very realistic to win. And if we do win that one important fight, we could get a very big game. And I beat myself up over that. Like, come on, Sauce, you just got to call more confidently. Why are you being such a pussy right now? I apply that to the next game. And I put ourselves in a spot where it was a pretty good spot. We just played endgame a little bit bad. Got 9 points. And then I was like, okay, this is another thing I need to work on is just communicating more effectively and being a little bit calmer when shit hits the fan. And then after that, we just dropped a 26-point game and really brought our run back. So definitely just keep yourself level-headed, but also think more logically. You know, like if something is not going right, there's definitely issue. You need to find that issue and then apply it immediately.
Okay. I was just because when I first asked the question, I was like, "Is there anything that you do to keep your to keep yourself sane?" And as you were describing it, the one thing I heard was you told yourself not to be a pussy, and I was like, "All right, if that's your strategy, just call yourself a pussy, and you'll end up getting better. You'll get a 26-point game. That's a great strat. I think that's actually a great strat. But I'm glad you clarified that at the end because that was an interesting way to go about it. So getting back to the top 5 and how you guys are going about this season, the one thing you have to keep an eye on here, and I'm sure you guys know it, is you guys have already played 4 match days. A lot of these other teams, they've played 3. Lots can change in the final 5 days. Lots can change, and you guys have to keep your foot on the gas pedal. As a team, as a unit, have you guys talked about what exactly you guys need to do in this second half of the season to kind of make sure that you guys are headed to land? Because like a lot of these teams are very solid squads, and they've been here many times before. You guys are all kind of on the up and up, like still kind of grinding to get to that spot. Like, have you guys had any conversations about it?
I don't think we've sat down as a team and talked about it, but definitely the biggest thing we need to work on is just adapting to this new meta. And most of that work does come down to me as the IGL. I need to adapt to how the game now plays out, which is a lot differently. And another thing is team comps. I think this is actually the hardest meta shift that we've seen in Apex history for IGLs to adapt to, because not only is there a new character meta, the entire game basically just got flipped on its head in terms of like timings, macro, how you want to level up your armors. Literally everything you could think of, the like little things are just changed, and those little things really do add up and can really mess with your head as an IGL.
I agree, man. Lot has changed. I think a lot for the better. I'm a ranked grinder, especially for the rank changes. But here's the thing, right? Give us some background information on what games made you a gamer, like made you competitive, made you want to compete. What are some games from your childhood?
Growing up, I've been on the PC a lot, actually. The first game I remember was playing a Halo CE trial on the family desktop that my brother installed for me.
There we go.
And I was 4 years old at the time, I think, 4 or 5, just blasting away at the Covenant. It's pretty fun. But yeah, I was just playing games on PC my entire life. I don't think I really dived into FPS, despite my first game being Halo 1, until 6th grade. I got gifted a copy of CSGO by my friend on Steam, and that's been my journey. Played CS for a couple years, I think. Then in 8th grade, I got Overwatch from. That's actually how I got my name, actually, Saucer. It was the name of an Overwatch account my friend gave me because his PC couldn't run the game at the time, and it just kind of stuck since.
Is this the same friend that gifted you CSGO?
Nah, different friend.
Damn. All right. Got some good friends, man.
Yeah. I think he's a doctor now. Don't know what he's doing, but definitely up there in life.
That's probably why he gave you the copy. That's probably, yeah, he's like, I got to focus on school now.
Definitely. Let's see. I hit a high rank in Overwatch, actually. My first season being season 2, I hit Masters, and then I think after that I was Grandmasters.
Who were you playing?
When I hit Masters, I was playing Genji, and then back then this was before roll queue, so I actually had to.
The good days.
Yeah. I had to flex off of Genji a lot. I had to drop the ego a little bit and just fill whatever the team needed. So I ended up being like a tank support kind of flex.
That was always the worst. It was like, can you just please play this one thing that we need so I can just do what I need to do? And they never did it. They never did it. It never failed. You always had to find somebody who would just roll queue. And I'm glad you were the one to do it.
You just have to be the bigger man sometimes for that dub.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So back to your friend, Sauce, the ones that gave you CSGO and Overwatch, do they now know where you're at in life, in the sense of, like, I got to keep saying it, you're 5th overall in Pro League, which is massive, right? Against the best of the best in the world. You yourself are one of the best Apex players out of the millions that play it. Do they know where you're at, and that they're a big reason why you're here? Because maybe if they didn't give you CSGO, or they didn't give you Overwatch, you might have never been an Apex pro.
I actually don't think they know. I lost contact with the one that gave me CS:GO. Oh, can't even remember when. It
Doctor
was a
though,
long time ago.
working a lot.
No, that's the one that gave me Overwatch.
Oh, okay, never mind, wrong one.
Yeah, I don't know what that guy's doing anymore, but the one that gave me Overwatch, I actually messaged him when Overwatch 2 came out because he wanted to play it, so I bought him a copy. You know, comes around,
Comes
goes
full
around.
circle. There we go.
Yeah, it
Circle
does.
of life.
Yeah, that was the last I spoke of him, but I'm pretty sure he knows I'm a pro gamer. He just doesn't know that, like, the extent of it. But that's
Yeah.
fair, he has his own things to focus on.
That's pretty cool, man.
Who knows? He might cure cancer.
That
Could
dude,
be.
Dude, the
Could
way I'm
be.
smoking these vapes, bro, I might need them. I might need them. All right,
There
you
we
tell
go.
him work on it for me.
I wanted to get back to GKS a little bit here. I'm just intrigued by this team because I think if you look at all of you guys in a vacuum, like each individual one of you guys, it's been a grind, and lots of circumstances have had to change for each and every one of you. We've had Naughty on this show twice, and I'm a huge Naughty fan, and the amount of adversity he's gone through since having a little bit of success at the start has been crazy. Then you look at Chaotic, same exact thing, moves to a completely different country, and then that team falls apart and he goes through adversity. And then same thing with you, early success, with Renegades, and then kind of bouncing around, no orgs, adversity. Now you guys are here. I think it's you guys are like a scrappy group of guys who have gone through a ton to get to this place here. And what would getting to this land mean just for you personally to be able to say, like, okay, I worked my ass off and now I'm here? Like, how awesome would that be for you and the rest of the team?
Ooh, not to sound poetic, but it would be a crushed dream come real for me because 4 years ago, wow, it's been 4 years already. A little over 4 years ago, I qualified for a Texas land. This was before COVID, by the way.
I remember. I was gonna go. Not playing
Yep.
though.
Yeah, I qualified for that with Petty Boss and Clarify, and we were gonna go to that. Actually, Petty Boss played at Poland, but it was gonna be me and Clarify's first LAN. And I remember when the leaderboard showed on Battlefy that we qualified for the LAN, I literally jumped up out of my chair and shouted, "We're going to LAN!" I qualified for LAN. It's been a dream of mine since like forever. I went to a CS:GO tourney in Oakland. I can't remember 2016 or 2017. And I watched my favorite team actually at the time, NIP. My boys, Ninjas in Pajamas, win the whole thing, and that was a very big turning point in my life. I was like, wow, how sick would it be if I was up there playing and gets to lift a trophy? So it's been a dream ever since, and I was so excited to go to that Texas LAN. And as we all know, unfortunately, COVID ruined a lot of years of Apex comp. What would have been. Kind of lost sight of that dream since, being lazy and all. Kind of got the whole COVID shenanigans get to my head as a young little lad, but definitely would be a crushed dream come real again if I am able to qualify for this LAN. Very, very important for myself.
That's so awesome to hear. Like, that's just, it's like I said, it's you guys have all had that adversity, and it would be so cool to see. Did I cut you off?
No, you're good. You can keep on going. I'll wait.
No, I didn't have a question. I was just saying it was cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh well. So on the way to LAN, you got to keep on bringing in the steady amount of points that you guys have been able to throughout your tournaments. But I'm gonna be honest, you guys are some World's Edge crutch players. We'll keep it a stack. And so what is that allows you guys to just absolutely excel on World's Edge? And then what is it about Stormpoint that you guys can't quite get into that same flow?
Starting off with the World's Edge, I think it's just more familiar for me. I've been playing. I have way more comp games on World's Edge than Stormpoint, and familiarity and comfortability as an IGL definitely plays into a lot of how teams perform. I actually think our Stormpoint POIs are technically better than our World's Edge. It's just the mid game to late game calling just seems a lot more fluid from me personally. And Stormpoint is just like, I don't know, just too confusing for me sometimes. A lot of
It
it does
happens.
come down to macro zone calls, though. I'm not so great on Stormpoint when it comes to that.
Oh, no, it definitely seems like it's something that the more experience you get, especially while playing with Naughty and Chaotic, that you guys will only get better and better. And yeah, if you guys do, because like your guys' World's Edge, you guys be popping off. It seems like you guys, yeah, one thing I want to get into is like, how have you guys been able to keep the mental so strong as you go throughout your tournaments? Because it seems like you guys start off a little bit slow, but then you guys basically make the majority of your points in the last 2 or 3 games. And so what is it behind the scenes that keeps you guys locked in and dialed in and not tilted at all about how rough the first few games might go?
I think all three of us just are very strong mentally. Like when we have bad games, it's Naughty's always trying to cheer us up. Chaotic's always saying, "Come on, boys, we got 3 more games. We got to make a comeback. Come on, let's fucking lock it in." They're very vocal about that. I'm more so when things start going south, I get a little bit more quiet. I'm more in my thoughts about how to solve issues. From the outside looking in, it might seem that I'm tilted or getting down on myself, but I'm just locking it in my own way. And all three of us doing that at the same time, realizing that, okay, there's still games left. We could really make this happen. And all we really need is just that little push, that little bit of momentum. Off the start of our 26-point game, we ran into a team contesting our rotate, and Naughty got knocked off the start because we wanted to just take the balloon and rotate and ignore them if possible, but Naughty got killed off the balloon, and me and Chaotic instantly 2v3'd the fight, like flipped it. We just need that little momentum push to get our energy up. Like we were shouting at the end of that fight. It was very hype.
Yeah, that was a funny clip. And the other thing about that game too, the 26-point game, that day you had on Stormpoint, you guys had a 20th place 0 kill. Like the worst of the worst, the worst you could do, and you ended that day in 2nd place. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that. And I think that really does speak to your guys' ability to stay like composed through that, because usually you see the 20 and the 0, you're like, all right, the best they're getting is like 12th, 11th on this, and you guys were able to get fucking 2nd. So I think that's just a very good way to look at it. I also think, speaking of your guys' composure, I don't think it goes just by match day individually. If you look at your guys' points throughout each of the days, every single day you guys have gotten better. You started off with 6, went to 10, then 15, then to 21. Every single day you guys have become a better team. I think that just means your next match day you're going to win the whole damn thing, because that's all that's left. That's all that's left to do. I think that's what it is.
Might have to win my first ALGS.
That's right. That's
Show
right.
what's up.
So once again, getting into that, like when you guys started off in your first day and you just get the 6 points, like is that where you guys started to notice that composure a little bit, like that positivity that kept you guys going, being like, okay, we're just going to keep chugging along here. We're not going to worry about it right now.
That day we only got 6 points. Partially, was because I was not used to the dynamic of a Pro League game. I haven't played like a level of Pro League lobbies since like 6 months prior almost, I think, in LCQ playing with Flat. So it was definitely a little bit jarring for me to get adjusted to. I did a lot of VOD review after that day to get myself in the best shape possible. Also, unfortunately, we had to fill in Panda per ALGS rules, which we hadn't practiced with. So that was a little bit jarring as well. But I mean, off of that 14th place, to be honest, I was more confident in the team than any team I've been on for the last like 2 years, I'd say. So like despite, not placing too well, I knew that if we keep putting in the hours and work that we have had, and a little bit of adapting from my own IGLing, we were definitely going to see results. And that's just what happened the next couple weeks. The week we got 10th, it didn't even feel like we deserved 10th, to be honest. There's a lot of mistakes, a lot of unfortunate events. Same with the week we got 5th. A lot of mistakes in the first 3 games, brought it back on the second half. And yeah, sometimes you just gotta look forward, keep working hard.
Respected.
All right, so Saucer, you are part of a dying breed of M&K players, and yet you, I would say, do a better job of most. I don't think I've ever heard you bitch about aim assist or controller or anything. And so, what about approaching Apex, which is now a mostly controller-dominated game? What do you think you do differently compared to the more weaker of mind M&K compatriots?
I mean, I've just been competing for so long, so I just know that no matter what I complain about when it comes to the controller versus M&K debate and the aim assist issue, it's not going to get changed. And at the end of the day, if it's not going to get changed, that doesn't change my goal. My goal is to go to a LAN and lift a fucking trophy. So I'm going to do whatever I can to work myself up to be a deserving player of lifting a trophy. Because, I mean, Zero lifted a trophy. He's an M&K player. Hal lifted a trophy when he was on M&K. Like, it's definitely doable. You just got to focus on your own lane and just try to do whatever you can.
Respect it. Well, you got 2 controls to back you up. You know, that's more than enough aim assist there.
Of course.
Yeah, no, all right. So I kind of remembered it, but it's not really. So LAN's coming up, right? A couple months, I believe. Give me your top 3 places that you would love LAN to be at.
Oh, top 1? Definitely Tokyo or somewhere in Japan, honestly. Yeah. I went there on vacation last November, or actually October, with my brother and my mom, and it was just a lovely place to be, honestly. Love Japan so much. And after watching Asia Festival, the fans there are just like
insane.
It's just, they're just so like nice and happy. It's just a great environment to be around, I think. Second, I'd say probably Sweden, because growing up watching a lot of CSGO LANs, they were hosted in Sweden a lot. Also NIP, my favorite team from the CSGO era, are Swedish. So it'd definitely be nice to come full circle and be like, wow, I'm competing at the very place I watched my idols compete in. And top 3, can't think of it. Paris would be nice, I think. There was supposed to be a Paris LAN back in 2020 that was scheduled, but
yeah, I think we heard that
canceled.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Good food.
Definitely good food.
Can't go wrong.
Also, French esports are also like pretty big.
They go crazy, dude.
Yeah, definitely.
Go crazy. I was talking to my boy Orax, ex-pro. He does the basically the B stream for France. And dude, the amount of support that they get is insane. They love Apex.
Yep.
All right, well, Sauce, it's been a pleasure having you on, my man. It's been a great time. Oh, I know, I'm setting it up.
Oh, okay. Bad.
It's been a pleasure having you on, my man. We always like to, Sauce, before we let you go, we always like to ask one last question. We let E tee it up for you, but it's been a pleasure having you on. E, hit him with it.
All right, Saucer, you are competing and by far like the top 1% of Apex Legends, and which congratulations. And this is a question I like to ask everybody, because everybody who we have on the show is performing in the top 1% of whatever field they're pursuing. A lot of them happen to be Apex players. So what is one thing that you've learned that's allowed you to get to this point that somebody could take and apply to really any area of life that they were trying to get into the top 1% in?
Ooh. I'd say the top 1% is actually just an illusion. don't think of it as the top 1% are special, they're talented, because you might be too. If you put in the work, you'll definitely get there. There's people in this world that have started with absolutely nothing, gotten to the very, very top of whatever field they choose. Why can't that be you?
Love that.
There we go. There we go. Well, Saucer, it's been a pleasure having you on, my man. We're rooting for you here. We want to see you guys get to land. GKS was a team that came out of nowhere, and I think, it's kind of one of those storylines that everybody's keeping a close eye on. You, Chaotic, and Naughty. I think a lot of people are rooting for you guys. So it's going to be awesome to watch you guys in the second half of this thing, and hopefully we don't just make land. Hopefully we lift a fucking trophy.
Yes, sir.
That's
Lifting
right.
a fucking trophy.
That's right, baby. All right, man. Thanks for hopping on.
Yep. Thank you.
Peace out, Sauce.
See ya.
Peace.
All right, ladies and gents, that was the man, the myth, the legend, Sauceror. What a guy. What a guy. We talked to him a little bit after the show, too, about, after the interview was done. He said he wanted to talk a little bit more in the future about, the entire process of like esports and like some of the things that go on behind the scenes that maybe newer players don't fully expect at first. Cause there is a lot of like, sometimes you randomly get dropped. Like sometimes, you kind of go through this adversity that, he wanted to expand upon a little bit more. And hopefully we have him back on to expand upon that. Cause there is a lot of like newer players entering the scene that I don't think they may be great players, but they aren't fully ready to go through some of the hardship that him, Chaotic, and Naughty have all gone through. And you can see it, man. Like they've gone through the gauntlet. And I think part of that adversity is the reason why they are doing so well. But it was a great chat with him. Ladies and gents, we're going to hit the heart-to-heart. Let's get into it. All right, ladies and gents, it is heart-to-heart time. Heart-to-heart time. Does anybody want to go first?
I'll take the reins.
No? You got it?
Yeah, nah, I'm grateful to be able to do this for a living, man. I know there was a lot of talk with, I don't know if you guys seen the tweets from Hassan saying like having a 9-to-5 job is harder than streaming, which
I got some thoughts.
Yeah, which I'm going to say this, dude, like, are there challenges that come with streaming? Yeah. Are there hardships? Yeah. Is it inconsistent? Yeah. But bro, we sit on our asses and play video games for a fucking living. Or like Hassan, you watch YouTube, and it made him a multi-millionaire from it. I think a lot of people need to step back and content creators and pro players need to take a step back and really sort of see what the fuck we are doing, bro. Because it's insane, man. We are literally making a living. Paying bills, paying mortgages, paying car bills, everything from video games, man. From video games. You're able to make a community, bro. Like, it's... Dude, we're fucking blessed, man. We're blessed. And it blows my mind because if you think, content creation is, harder than having a 9-to-5, you go work a 9-to-5, but ask all the people who are working 9-to-5s, would they trade that for being able to content create, And so yesterday I turned on the stream, bro. I hit 1,300 organic viewers, bro. And I was like, holy fuck, man. I'm Diamond 3, bro. We're not even top pred anymore, and we're still cranking in these views. So I'm grateful for you guys. I'm grateful for my friends. I'm grateful for my community, my family, God. I mean, dude, it's a blessing, fellas. It's a blessing.
Yeah, that's I'm gonna go off of that with my heart to heart because I saw it and I try not to get pissed off by stuff like that because like I don't want to take anything away from content creators and streamers and stuff. I know that having to deal with anybody being able to say anything about you, it takes a certain level of like, damn, that does kind of suck. Like I don't want to take anything away from that. And to be a good content creator, putting out the amount of content you have to put out, definitely not easy, man. Like making those videos, getting all that stuff out, not easy. Sitting down, playing for hours upon hours upon hours. Like, yes, it is definitely easier than like a 9 to 5, but it's still hard. But man, that made me so mad. Like it especially like my heart to heart this week is really just about like work, because I'm in the 9 to 5, and there are some days, dude, where it's just so tough, man. Like I'm like sitting right here, the amount of stuff I did at work today, like manual labor stuff on top of all the paperwork you got to do, all that kind of thing. Like it's draining. It's so draining. And I tweeted this out like a week or two ago. It was I hope all the streamers out there don't take their jobs for granted, because I'm telling you, you're so fortunate. Do all you can with the time that you have and be smart with the money you've gained. It's better than sitting behind this counter getting body bagged by customers every day. It's like it's so hard, dude. Like it and I'm so tired all the time. You know, it's definitely I'm very blessed, and I'm trying to search for ways to be more grateful. I guess that's what my heart to heart is trying to be grateful through the hardest times. But each and every day that I go to work, it is like I am battling with some of the toughest days I've ever had. Being in a spot that I'm blessed to have, but I would hope that I'm not going to be doing what I'm doing now forever. My body's tired, my back hurts. It sucks. It sucks so much. And I'm just trying to remain grateful through all this. I had to reach out to my dad and be like, Dad, if you have anything in the form of help, like send me anything you have, because I'm so tired. I'm very fortunate to have my girls, because when I come home, like everything kind of melts away. I've got the babies here, and my fiance is so great to me. So that's helpful. But fuck, man, if you're out there working a 9 to 5 and maybe it's not your favorite thing in the world and you're struggling out there, I'm fucking with you, dude. I'm so tired. Like it's tough. So to see that was very frustrating. It made me mad. And man, I don't even know what to like. You want to be grateful because I mean it's given me this opportunity to do this stuff, like to be able to make sure my family's taken care of. But at the same time, it's also taken so much away from me. It's made it even hard sometimes to like want to do shows, because I love doing this more than anything in the world. It's my favorite thing to do. But when I come home, I'm so drained that I'm just like, fuck, I don't, I'm just so tired. So, if anybody out there is struggling, man, I'm with you. If you need to say something, if you have nobody else to reach out to, fucking DM me, say anything. I'll talk to you about it, because I'm going through the same shit. I'm going through the same shit. So I'm here for the working class heroes, man, because it's tough out there. It's tough out there right now. But I'm trying to remain grateful through all of it. So that's my heart to heart, is trying to find the good in the bad. So that is my heart to heart.
Yeah, mine will kind of like roll right off of what you were saying. It's kind of like the thing that I've been focused on is that, like, realistically, like, you just got to be so certain of where you're going and just be so locked in on the fact that, like, you know that it's going to happen. And then you just get to sit back and just enjoy the process of it unfolding. And yes, you're going to have like those days where it sucks ass and days where like things aren't going to go the way you want. But like, if you are so confident that you know where you're going, then it takes a lot of the like emotional stress out of the situation, because like then it's just like, okay, this is just something that sucks that I'm going through, but that it doesn't change anything about like the end goal, right? And so that's something that I've been focusing on and just trying to enjoy it as much as possible, and just adapting and going with the flow and finding out ways to just enjoy the process as much as I can.
Amen.
That's a good way to say it. That's a good way to say it. Yeah, it's It's tough out there, but we're going to keep grinding. We're going to keep doing our thing. And at the very least, we get some ALGS to watch this weekend. So next week, we'll have a full slew of games to go through, a full slew of storylines to go through as well. And it should be a grand old time. We've got some stuff in store in the future here.
And a juicer interview that I don't think we should announce, but we can just tease the fact that we got an absolute.
We can tease it.
We got an absolute juicer on your way. And so next week's episode, I can assure you, is not one that you were going to want to
be around.
One of the best.
Yeah, you're going to want to be around.
One of the best.
We're going to want to be around. Thank you guys for tuning in as always, and enjoy the games this weekend. I will be streaming on the Play Apex Twitch account at the Apex the Pod. I do things a little bit differently for that stream. I don't do a typical watch party just because I feel like there's so many watch parties out there. I kind of just put some bets down and I try to just sweat them out with the boys in the chat. So if you guys want to drop in, see how the bets are going, throw your own out there. We can all have a grand old time. That'll be on I think it's at the Apex the Pod on Twitch. So you can follow that. I'll be live. Just chilling out, hanging out. Sometimes Jayhawk will hop in there in the Discord with me and we'll kind of just talk about things. And so these boys might hop in if they're not too busy as well. Totally up to them. But we're going to be watching some games. It's going to be a great time. And we'll be back next week for some new stuff. So we'll catch you guys next week for another episode of the Apex Podcast. See you.
Love y'all.